working on some little sketchbooks, and I thought I'd just put on the camera and do a little process and talk through of how I do that. It's really nothing tricky, nothing difficult. I have two little covers here. They are really quite small. They measure 4 3/4 by 7.5, and the spine is really narrow. It's just like 3/8 of an inch. It's just a centimeter wide. These used to be little nature guidebooks. There was a novel in this one, or a piece of poetry or something. This is what I took out of that one. I'm gonna use this for journals, or in like mixed media art, for collages and focal points for something. So this will not be wasted at all. And then I have a pad of drawing paper. This is textured. I don't know if the camera can pick this up. I suppose not, because my lighting is not that great. This is textured on one side and smooth on the other. And I think there are 18 or 20 sheets in this. And I'm gonna cut a piece off as it is. I'm not gonna take the sheets up, out of the pad. I'm gonna leave this glued intact. I'm going to tear the cover off because I don't need that. That's just gonna be in the way. And then what I do is I take the cover and measure the inside paper, the cover paper that's on the inside. This is 18 centimeters long, 7 1/8 of an inch, and I will mark that very lightly on both sides. Sorry if my head gets in the way there now. But it's important to get this as straight as possible. Because if this is not straight, the whole thing will be wonky and very hard to trim. Oh, and now I have that marked. I'm gonna take a metal ruler and an X-Acto knife, and I'm gonna take a lot of the blade out of this because it needs to go through the entire stack, not in one go. So I'm not gonna try and cut through all of it at once. Of course, that would be just too much. I couldn't press through all of the paper, but I'm gonna hold my ruler steady, and I'm just gonna start slicing slow and steady, and this is gonna cut a few sheets at one time. Really have to be careful not to slip with the hand that holds the ruler, and of course I have to be careful not to slice my fingers. I think I'm almost through. Yes. And now that is a really smooth cut. It might be a little bit wonky. I don't really care so much, because after all, this is a handmade book, and if somebody doesn't want anything wonky, well then they can go to a store and buy one that's been made in a factory. But this will be exactly the right height for this cover. And now what I'm gonna do is I'll take my bone folder and go through the glued, or not the bone folder, that's okay. The first one comes away a little more tricky sometimes. I'll just separate all of these and because we're gonna cut the edge off, it doesn't matter if these edges are a little like rough because they've been glued into the pad. That doesn't matter, they're gonna be cut away anyway. Just gonna separate all of them. That's the back. That's just some cardboard. You can remove the glue. Put that aside. We can use that for a cover or something like that. I'm gonna stack all of these sheets. And what I would usually do when folding my sheets to make a signature is I take one and fold it, and I take the next one and fold it, and then I'll take the next one and fold it. Because this is gonna be a single signature, I am not gonna fold them all individually. I'm gonna stack them really well and then fold the entire thing. And as you can see, the papers will be shifting. That doesn't matter because they will be cut off. The edge will be cut off anyway. I'll keep tapping this down, the entire stack, and just closing in on the spine area. Keep tapping to make sure it's all stacked evenly. And in the front there, I can sort of level the shortest, if you can see that, where my fingertips are, and make sure that one side isn't sticking out much further than the other one. And I'll just take my time and push down and then gently squeeze the spine up and down to give it a fold, holding firmly with the other hand before I put it down and put a little more weight in it. Can go in with the bone folder and really push this down. Make sure that it's all aligned at the top and bottom. I run my fingers along the edge to sort of feel if it's all nice and smooth. And that's much more the look that you sort of get when you buy little notebooks at a bookstore or stationery shop. It's all very round. I found that when I fold signatures for journals that have several signatures, and I fold all the sheets individually, they get very pointy, and they don't really like to bend, especially the ones that are on the outside. They kind of need a little more room, and that's actually more of a curve than a point. Like the one that's on the very inside, that's very pointy because it has the least way to go. But that one, if I take that off, that's actually very round because there's quite quite a lot of bulk to this. I mean, this is what, an eighth, I guess it's an eighth of an inch. It's more, so it's like 3/16 of an inch worth of paper that's there. And I suppose what I would do now before I, well, actually, no, what I do first is I cut the front edge, and then I would press this before I can stitch it in. And this fits exactly into this cover. So this is going to make a very nice sort of pocket-sized sketchbook with nice artist quality drawing paper that you can have in your bag to use on the go. I covered up the initial label that was on it with a piece of tea stain paper. I reinforced the spine because these books are quite old and tattered along the spine area. They wouldn't have held up for long. So I just took some fabric from my stash and wrapped a strip of it around the entire spine so it doesn't tear along the hinges.
Mami, ich hab dich lieb.
Ich hab dich auch lieb, mein Schatz. That was my daughter telling me that she loves me. So what I'm gonna do now, this is rather stable. You can clip it in place. Ich erkläre gerade was. Ja, musst du kurz leise sein, okay? This is rather stable, so you can clip it into place if you want, but it's not really necessary.
Papa,
Bald, mein Schatz.
guten Abend.
Ja, ich glaube bald. Es dauert nicht mehr lange. And now I'm gonna measure how long, like how wide the signature needs to be. And for that, I'm gonna put the cover, just stand it up in front of me, start measuring on the spine, and just see how far it goes. And I guess I would make this for just shy of 4.5 inches. Which is that? That's 11.5 centimeters. If you see, the measuring tape reaches the front edge of the inside covering paper. Right, my daughter is making noise. Ronja, kannst du herinnen leise sein, bitte? Ja? Leise sein, okay? Sorry about that. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut that, and for that I'm gonna use my trusty triangle that has a grid line. That's why I usually measure my covers in centimeters, because that's what's on here. And I'm gonna need the pencil again. Well, actually no, I won't need the pencil because I can read down here how far I need to go, but I might have to put my head into the frame again to make sure this is really all well aligned and even. Just take your time with this. If you do something like this, if you want to make something similar, or just try this way of folding the signatures, take your time with it. Check twice, thrice, 4 times, as many times as you need to be comfortable with it. Because if you rush it, something will shift and it's just gonna be wonky and awkward when it's done. So I said that was, yes, 11.5 centimeters. And because I have the right angles here on my triangle, I can just line it up with the side edge here with the black line and the bottom that marks 11.5 centimeters. When I have that, I can just hold on to this. I have to be careful with the plastic ruler because I can actually cut into this if I'm not careful. In fact, I have shaved some shards off of this because of not paying enough attention. And now I'm just gonna cut this again carefully and steady. Always just 2 or 3 pieces of paper at a time. That's all that's all I can do, at least. I know there are cutting machines even for like use at home that can slice through really thick stacks of paper, but I don't have one of them, so I have to cut this by hand, which is okay, you know, if I don't have to do a ton at a time. I mean, after a while, of course, it gets tiring to hold on like this, but it doesn't take that long. And now, look at that smooth edge there. So now what I would do is I would just wrap this in a piece of scrap paper, just so that the first page doesn't get dirty or smudges on it, and just press this under some heavy books overnight, or even longer, maybe 2 days, 3 days. The longer the better, because it will just help the paper getting used to being folded like that. And then I can stitch it into my cover. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you for watching. Bye!